So you're Richard Chamberlin. You're the son of the original inventor of the Mellotron. Is that correct? What can you tell me?
What do you need to know?
Well, tell me memories that you have of your father inventing this magnificent instrument that, really was an important part of transforming rock music, particularly prog rock and symphonic rock.
Okay, basically when the machine just barely came out, this was during the 60s, you find out that most of the instruments, when they first took off, synthesizers weren't even thought of. They were in their primary state. They really haven't had a chance to excel, and because when my dad came up with this idea of a tape instrument, and the first one that came out was quarter-inch tape. For each individual note, you had to go just like this, only you had to hold a switch up to go to the next channel. And what it is supposed to represent the actual playing of a real instrument, not synthetic, not circular tape. It's what they call a return system, which brings it back down. That was during the 50s. We manufactured in 1952 and went to a trade show. We made other type of models, even remote control units. And during 1960s, they found out, or I should say some of the organ companies found out when we came over to the NAMM show in Chicago, found out that we could probably do it just as good, but they couldn't copy what we had, so they had to do it electronically. So anything that has to do with drum rhythms or musical instruments of any sort, they have to kind of get as close as they can to make it sound right, or even the drum rhythms. We even came up with the drum rhythms at the same time. So until we came up with the half-inch tape with 8 tracks, and you could play more than one note instead of cheating going in between like this one. Like if you were to push this, you get the actual note. If you put this one here on, the black one, you're splitting the track, which kind of lowers it, which means you have to turn up the volume real quick. So I'll make this fast. That's what I'm trying to do because they're short on time. But anyways, with ours, you don't need to do that. It has stereo amplification system. As soon as you turn one on, you got violins. You turn the other one on, you got cellos at the same time, which means if you put 8 fingers down, you got 8 violinists and 8 cello players all at the same time. There was a lot sold. One of them that had, not like this, but a model like ours, was called a 660. And what that was, it was sold to Universal Studios with all the sound effects. All the sound effects. No instrumentations at all. That's what they wanted. So
it would be a Foley machine to be able to just,
Yeah. Instead of tracking down and playing one tape, or at that time, record players or anything like that, it was kind of a hassle. All they have to do is push the keyboard down. It takes the notes, or it takes the sound that represents no different than an organ.
Right.
No different than a recorder. That's the only difference. That way you can get the actual sound of the instrument itself.
What did your father think when his instrument started being used in such iconic music as Strawberry Fields Forever and Nights in White Satin? I mean, did he ever expect that it would become that important?
Probably not, because you got to remember, at this stage of the game, since it's during the 60s, Mellotron was thought of at that time, but when it came to the 70s, that's a different story. Because of what it has on it, I don't think he ever thought it would go as far as it did, because he originally just you have your rhythms on this side, your accompaniment on this side, and your solo notes on this side. Well, that was good for home, and it was like an entertainment speak. You could take it to bars and use it like a regular band or whatever you're playing. But as far as the actual rock groups are concerned, they only want just backup. They don't want all this baloney that was on here at the time.
Sure.
So that's when we concentrated more on the solo notes that would enhance their group. And the main ones are usually the flute, cello, and violins, maybe horns and voices.
Right. That Mellotron choir sound is so important in the sounds of Genesis and King Crimson.
Oh yeah, like Leon Russell. Leon Russell is another one who had the big unit, which is called the 800 Riviera 800 Chamberlin.
Interesting. Thank you. And as I recall, as far as the rhythmic stuff, John Lennon used some of your rhythmic playback stuff on the Beatles' White Album. I think it was Bungalow Bill as well.
Yes, he did.
So, very cool. Well, Richard Chamberlin, thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome, sir. I hope you have a good day.
Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Frederic. I'm a French musician based in Paris, and I used to play Hammond organ and Mellotron. And I'm going to show you what we can do with the old Mellotron MK2 from 1964, the same used by the Beatles on the first albums.
So, what is the purpose of the Mellotron company now? I mean, that instrument is 60 years old, right?
It's been to recreate the older version of the M400 and MK2 M1 Chamberlain. I mean, remastering of all the tapes, every tapes.
Yeah.
So now you get 4 banks with loops, drum fills, instruments, voices, and it's really great because you've got 100 sounds inside.
Yeah.
You can add some compact flash card, and it's perfect. It sounds great. It's reliable. It's MIDI. Honestly, I use this one for 8 years now, and a lot of my friends bought some in France and use in studio and on tour.